When you think of the best FNAF games, what games do you think of? What are your top 5 in terms of quality alone? I'm willing to bet that a lot of people share some of the same entries, and I'm willing to bet that the game we'll be talking about today is at the top of some of your lists, because it's definitely at the top of mine. The Glitched Attraction is a FNAF fan game developed by 2 18-year-old developers alone. The reason I mention their age is because of how impressive this game really is, and how impressive it is that only 2 brand new adults managed to design it themselves. When I first learned how old these guys were, I was shocked. The Glitched Attraction is one of the best FNAF games I've ever played. I know a few of you watch my content to get suggestions for FNAF games to play, and for those of you that do not pass this one up. It is one of the most high-quality experiences of all time. Let's not waste any more time and hop into the Glitched Attraction, FNAF's most high-quality FNAF game ever made. Our game begins with us getting a text from a friend asking us to come check out the new Fazbear escape room attraction, and they tell us to bring all of our things along with us, a request that is definitely weird, but since when has weird ever meant bad in a FNAF game before, am I right? So we do just that, pack up all of our things and set out. You heard it here first, the Glitched Attraction is seriously a Five Nights at Freddy's escape room, a concept that sounded so cool I couldn't not check this game out, and I'm glad I did. We arrive at the attraction and 2 helper bots explain what's going to happen, and then we have to give over everything we have. Why the fuck did we bring everything we own if we're just going to give it to some random robots? This is pretty fishy smelling, and I should know because I haven't showered in 8 weeks. With the general rules explained, we continue onto the first section of the escape room as chipper as we can be. We're kicking our feet and heel clicking and shit, we're so giddy. Not knowing what we're getting ourselves into, we can dive into the first room of the Glitched Attraction. The first room has us in a room similar in style to the bedroom from Five Nights at Freddy's 4. This room, being the first, isn't very difficult, but let me go over the 4 threats you can find in this room. While you're trying to think, focus, and not be a fuck-up, Nightmare Balloon Boy will be sitting on a chair, because his fat ass wouldn't ever dream of helping anyone, but would instead prefer to sit there and be pointless. But sometimes, he gets a little antsy. You can tell when he's like this because he will visibly seize in his chair until you shine your flashlight at him. It's weird that doing this causes his seizure to stop though, because when I quickly shined a flashlight in my epileptic friend's eyes, he went comatose on the ground and started foaming at the mouth. But to each their own, I guess. If you don't aid in Balloon Boy's assisted suicide, he will jump off the chair and kill you. Something interesting I noted is that Balloon Boy actually makes no noise when he shakes, or even when he jumps off of his chair, leading to a majority of his jump scares feeling really awkward. I get why he doesn't make any noise, because it'd be way too easy to not lose track of him, but just something I thought I'd bring up. You'll realize there's a giant window in this room as well, which lets you see outside. Occasionally, you'll be able to see Nightmare Fredbear stalking you from between the trees. Little does he know that his eyes are actually signal beams as bright as those stupid fucking white LEDs that are now being put onto vehicles, so that when I'm driving at night, everybody's headlights look like they have their fucking brights on. So when I flash my brights at them indicating to turn theirs down, then they actually turn their brights on, which simulate what I can only imagine to be the lights of God. And then I feel like an asshole because I just flashed a guy who didn't have their brights on. Sorry to go off on a tangent like that. I just really had to get my frustration about LEDs on cars out of the way, and I really didn't have a good outlet to do so. Anyways, you'll see Fredbear slowly inch closer to your window throughout the challenge, and when he gets super close, you'll have to close the curtains until you hear him laugh, signaling to you that he's gone away, and then you can reopen the curtains. Why on earth do you not just choose to keep the curtains closed for the whole time then? I have no idea. It's not like we need the moonlight to see. The bots at the beginning gave us a fucking flashlight, but whatever, I guess. Speaking of your flashlight, little tiny stupid insignificant Freddles will periodically appear around your room. They make the same noise as they do in FNAF 4, so hearing them shouldn't be a problem, especially considering how god-awful annoying they sound. Shine your flashlight at them and bada bing bada boom, they go away. But if you let 3 stay in your room and assault your eardrums for too long, 2 of them will grab either one of your butt cheeks as the 3rd dives headfirst into your rectum, which some of you sick fucks may find pleasing, but I for one do not. The final threat you have to worry about is Night Marionette. If you somehow, by some miracle, haven't noticed in the footage I've been showing on screen so far, there is a giant hole busted into the wall of the room, which is very poorly boarded up. Why is it boarded up? I hear you asking? Oh yeah, forgot to mention, it's only because, Satan is in there with enough tentacles to make hentai for the next 9,000 years. But, putting that thought aside, Night Marionette will occasionally give a sound cue to let you know she's there. If you look at the hole, you'll be able to see those sex toys, tentacles, creeping out. At this point, you'll need to make a mad dash to the golden Freddy suit, which is conveniently placed in the room with you, and hide inside of it. Once you do so for long enough, Night Marionette will leave. Now, hold on. I'm not done talking about this stupid fucking golden Freddy costume yet. I have some complaining to do, if you could imagine. This golden Freddy suit takes about, 2 fucking decades to put on. I'm not kidding. You will feel like this game is broken or has paused as you are putting this fucking thing on. But if that wasn't enough, taking it off is somehow even worse. Rather than just exiting the costume, instead, the game thought it would be a great idea to have you teleport out of the costume, where you think you'd be able to continue moving around and interacting with things. But no, that'd be too convenient. Instead, once you teleport out of the costume, you have to just stand there for about 4 seconds doing absolutely nothing. No moving, no using your flashlight, just standing there like a dunce as time still passes around you. While in the golden Freddy costume, did you happen to notice that Balloon Boy was tweaking out? Okay, cool. Night Marionette's gone, let's quickly exit the costume and flash Balloon Boy. Oh wait! Instead of flashing Balloon Boy, i.e. saving your own life, let's instead stand there like we have an iron deficiency for 5 fucking minutes as Balloon Boy twerks his fat jiggly ass all over his goddamn chair. I really needed to get that out of my system. Surely I won't have to complain for the rest of the video now, right? Anyways, how do we actually beat this room's challenge? Good question. You'll notice on the wall there's a picture of Freddy broken up into pieces, with each piece facing a different direction. You can turn each piece in order to make the picture look normal again, but you'll notice that one of the pieces is missing. On the dresser, you'll see the FNAF 4 box that Scott Cawthon wiped his ass with. Of course, it has 2 locks. You can find one of the keys to the locks in a drawer on the dresser, and the other key in the drawer of your nightstand. Using both of these keys to unlock the locks on the box, bars, opens it, revealing the last piece of the Freddy puzzle. You can take that piece and put it back in place to finish the puzzle, revealing a 6-digit code. Quick tip, this number is randomized every time you play it, so no fast speedrunning for you, sucker. Going back to the nightstand, you can open a door to reveal a safe. You punch that 6-digit code into the safe, open it, and find a hammer. You can then use this hammer to take the nails off the wooden boards covering the closet door, then open the closet door and escape the bedroom. Do keep in mind that as you are trying to do this, you are getting fucked from all angles by about 179 different pieces of fuck. But overall, I think this is by far the easiest room to complete, which is probably how it should be given the fact that we have a lot more rooms to go through. Speaking of, let's get to the next one. The next room is much larger than the previous. This time there are only 3 threats: Toy Chica, Mangle, and the Cupcake. This room is basically a big circle. Chica will walk around the circle patrolling for you. If you get in her line of sight, she will start to chase you. If she catches you, she will throw the meanest right hook I've ever seen since Muzi. You can hide in any of the several lockers lining the walls, but be aware that not all lockers can open. And if you want to know something super awesome, which lockers open are randomized each time you play, meaning if you lose a run, some of the lockers you hid in before probably will be locked this time. Isn't that awesome? The Cupcake will also patrol around, but he is much less important. He himself can't end your run, but if you're not watching him and accidentally step on him, he will squeak, causing Chica to be alerted to your exact location. For me personally, I hate this type of mechanics in games. I want to note, I don't think they're bad mechanics, I just don't like them. When there's a puzzle, I would like to be able to focus on the puzzle without having to worry about being chased at the same time. It also doesn't help that I don't handle being chased very well in any game, period. But it definitely doesn't help when I'm trying to focus on solving a puzzle on top of that. Just a me thing. But if that wasn't enough for my poor heart to handle, we have Mangle tacked on top of that. Mangle is hiding in the ceiling throughout the challenge. Occasionally, you will hear vent noises. When you do, that's when you know Mangle is about to drop down on yo ass. She has 2 possible drop locations. If you hear the vent noises on a side of the room that you're not on, you can safely ignore her as long as you don't then move to the side she's on. But if you hear her on a side of the room that you are on, you have 2 options. You can either A, move to the other side of the room, which might be a problem if Chica is over there, or B, hide in a locker. If you don't hide and Mangle happens to see you when she drops down, she will start to chase you. And unlike Chica, when Mangle chases you, there's no way to make her stop. At that point, even hiding in a locker won't be enough to be able to protect your cheeks. So, about the puzzle I was bitching about earlier. You'll notice a large door locked via a pin. The pin is 6 digits long and consists of 6 different symbols. Around the dark room, you'll have to find sticky notes on the walls that correlate each symbol to a number, which will give you the code order needed to unlock the door. If you couldn't have guessed, yes, this is also randomized each time you play. Simply find all the notes, type in the code, and you're done. Come on, you didn't really fall for that, did you? That was way too easy. This is a FNAF game, remember? And according to the FNAF game dev rules, difficulty equals quality. So let's make this as hard as possible. After opening up the door and flipping 4 switches to turn the power to the room on, a whole new world of fuck opens up to us, including a brand new threat, Withered Freddy. Withered Freddy sits inside of a music box, which I find weird because the marionette is literally in this room. I don't know why they didn't just use her for this mechanic, but whatever. Freddy's music box will slowly wind down, and if you don't keep it wound up, he will right hook, shatter the glass, hop out, and chase you. Just like Mangle, there's no hiding. If you hide inside of a locker, Freddy will stand outside of it and wait for you to come out. And when you do, you guessed it, he eats your ass. But because the devs of this game hate their players, if you wind Freddy's music box up too much, he will also shatter the glass and then shatter your sphincter. Cool. As if this wasn't hard enough for poor old Dexter to handle. What do we have to do now? Well, inside of the room you opened, there's some shit on the wall and we need to find some gears to make the contraption work. Again, you will just walk around the room and find all the needed gears and put them back in their place. Once you do, a door on the opposite side of the room will open, and you'll have to make a sprint of fate over to it. And then finally, the room is complete. This room isn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. I actually really like the concept of adding another threat halfway through. I just personally hate it for reasons stated earlier, but that's just a skill issue on my part. Moving on. Do you like complex things? Well boy, do I have a treat for you. The third room challenge is a nightmare. Let's waste no time and do a Tolarian Community College level threat assessment. This room has 4 threats: Springtrap, Dreadbear, Phantom Foxy, and Phantom Balloon Boy. Phantom Balloon Boy is simple, so let's cover him first. He works just as he does in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. He can randomly appear on any of the cameras. If you look at him on the camera for too long, he will jump scare you and cause a video error. Except the video error in this game just means that the camera he jump scared you on can never be used again for the rest of the run, which I promise you is a very bad thing, and the reason will be revealed later. Phantom Foxy can appear in any of the 2 doors connecting to your office. If you look at him for too long, he will charge at you and jump scare you, causing a level of hallucinations to appear. If too many levels of hallucinations appear at once, it's game over. Now, let's talk about the real threats of this night: Springtrap and Dreadbear. Dreadbear can be seen on the cameras and will attack either one of your doors. Do note that you can close these doors and they each have their own power supply. But Dreadbear is unaffected by the doors and will break them down if they're in his way. You'll have to watch the cameras to see which door he will be attacking, and when you see him charging towards one, you will have to hide under the desk on the opposite side of the desk to where he is coming from in order to stay out of his line of sight when he enters your office. Eventually, he will leave and you'll be safe to come back out. Springtrap is a goofy little thing, to say the least. Springtrap will climb through any of 3 vents, which you can see on the cameras. 2 vents bring him to your respective office doors, and the 3rd leads to the vent that is directly above you. If you see Springtrap climbing through a door vent, you will have to simply close the door to the side he's going towards. If you see him climbing through a vent that brings him to the top of your office, you'll need to quickly turn off the power to the office and hide under your desk. He'll drop down, and once he can't see you because the lights are off, he will leave. You got all that down? Good. Because we have a whole load more of fuck to talk about next. That being, how do we escape this room? Well, the goal is to open a tiny vent near the ground beneath the TV screen. To start, you'll want to check near the desk to look for a code. It's random every time, and where it appears next to the desk is also random every time, so have fun. Once you get the code, you head over to the TV screen and press developer mode, and then type in the code you found in your office. This lets you activate developer mode, which opens up a door on the wall revealing a token. Keep in mind, all of the threats are active at this time. Using the token, you pop that puppy into the big arcade machine in your office, which promptly starts up a game. That's right, while defending yourself from an onslaught of fuck, you will also have to play an entirely other game at the same time. The game in question, Save the Children, is really just a bunch of fetch quests. To start, you'll talk to Balloon Boy, who is fishing and says he needs some balloons. By the way, if you couldn't have guessed, all of the items that you'll be collecting in this minigame will be in a random location every time you play. Because God hates you. When you bring the balloons back to Balloon Boy, he will give you one of the fish he caught. Then you need to find Old Man Consequences and give him the fish, since the pond he's fishing in doesn't have any. Once you give him the fish, he gives you a lily pad for some fucking reason. Don't question it. We don't have time to question it because I neglected to mention there's a fire spreading through the building as you're escaping, and if you take too long, it will reach your office and kill you. No, I'm not joking. Oh, and again, keep in mind all of the threats I mentioned are still pulverizing your butthole. Once you have the lily pad, you'll take it back to Balloon Boy's pond and use it as a bridge to talk to this fucking robot thing. The robot says its watch is broken, so fuck you, go look for a clock. Once you find the clock and bring it back to the robot, he gives you a penguin, I think is what that thing is. Then you take the penguin over to Lolbit, who gives you a key to unlock a gate, which then leads you to an area where you need to unlock another gate. Yes, this minigame is still happening right now. You spelunk into a cave and talk to some dude who thinks the cave is too dark. You then have to leave the cave and go look for a torch, head all the way back and give the torch to him. He will then give you a key to unlock the other gate, and when you do, you'll exit the area, leading to a William Afton cutscene where he goes sicko mode inside of his Springlock suit. And finally, you have to sit there and wait as the game reboots. Again, we're on a time crunch, so your butthole will probably be puckered at this point. Again, threats are still up the wazoo right now, so don't get comfortable. Once the system reboots, you'll get another 5-digit code which you can use to unlock a box on the office desk which reveals a key. You then use the key on a keyhole in the fucking wall for some reason, and at this point, no matter how much time you have left, the game will start to count down from 6. Once the fire reaches your office, the small vent I mentioned at the beginning of this room will finally open, and you'll be free to crawl through it, but not before Springtrap lunges out and grabs your ankle with lust in his eyes and shit. You quickly close the vent and decapitate that bitch, and finally, you complete the room. Holy shit, this room gave me a panic attack and made me shart my pants. Shall we begrudgingly move on to the next room? I think so. Let's keep this gravy train rolling. Do you enjoy having headaches? If you do, this next room is for you. Let's go over it together. I'll hold your hand. This room is made up of 2 hallways, 2 windows, and a bunch of screens, a small elevator, and a life-size 7-foot-tall Circus Baby animatronic. The goal of this room is to put Baby back together, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's first go over the threats this room has to offer. The first threat is Ballora. At times you will hear her music box begin to play. Depending on which side of the room you hear the music coming from, you'll need to go over to that side's hallway and press an electric shock button that will electrify the doorway, shocking Ballora and making her go away. If she gets in, I'm guessing you can figure out what happens next. Ballora is the easiest threat. What else is there? Well, the 2 other threats are Funtime Foxy and Funtime Freddy. Occasionally, you will hear a gurgling sound cue, letting you know something is wrong with either Foxy or Freddy. You will have to run over to the windows and turn on the light to their room to see where they are. Starting with Foxy, if you see him doing the thug shaker on stage, you just press his shock button, and he will go back to how he's supposed to be. Be careful though, if you shock him too many times for no reason, he'll eat your ass like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. Freddy, on the other hand, is slightly different. His light button doesn't work. Similar to Sister Location, while looking at him, occasionally sparks will fly out of the wires in his room, briefly illuminating. In this small window of time, you'll be able to see where Freddy is located. He will slowly make his way towards the window, and if he gets too close, you guessed it, ass in his mouth, eating it like a cupcake. If you see Freddy getting too close for comfort, you press the tape symbol button, which will make Bon Bon tell Freddy to get the fuck back on stage. And he promptly will. Again, like Foxy, if you push the tape button too many times for no reason, it's time for the bite of 87 on your asshole. Now, back to putting Baby back together to complete the night. You'll notice that Baby is missing both arms and both legs. The first thing you'll need to do is find the baby chip hidden on the desk somewhere and plug it into the monitor. For some reason, we don't plug it into a computer, but I guess that's not really important now, is it? Once the monitor comes on, we need to call for baby's different pieces, starting with her arm. The general goal is to get each piece of her delivered and then fuse each of them to her body. Before I get to the fusing part of this process, let me bitch about the delivery process. So obviously, delivering the parts will take time, which isn't what we want because, as usual, we're on a timer here. And because of it, the devs thought it would be oh so funny to have some of the pieces come in broken. And once you put them on and try to fuse them, only then it will tell you it is broken and won't work. And you'll have to take the piece back off, return it, which also takes time, and then order and wait for another piece to be delivered. Why was this necessary, guys? What neuron fired off in your brain that made you think, how can I be Satan today? Anyways, let's talk about fusing, because this is really where the headache of this challenge comes into play. Starting with fusing the head, which for some reason wasn't already fused on, even though the challenge started with her head already being on her body. In order to fuse baby's body parts back to her torso, you have to complete a small minigame. For her head, it's basically just Simon Says, but with numbers instead of colors. But don't worry, the devs weren't just being nice and thinking about colorblind people. We'll get to that in just a minute. This is by far the easiest and least time-consuming part to fuse, but if you mess up a pattern once, you'll have to completely restart the head fusing process. Let's move on to her arms. The minigame for both arms are the same. The goal of this minigame is to divert power from the left side of the screen to the right. You do this by turning a bunch of 90-degree lines and 180-degree lines in order to make a consistent path from left to right. This sounds easy, but holy fucking shit, knowing you're on a time crunch and dealing with 30 pounds of dick in your ass at the same time definitely doesn't make this a smooth process. Do that for both arms and you're on to legs, the part that makes people like me want to die. In order to fuse the legs, you have to play a color matching game. You will see two grids of colors, one grid where you can change the colors and on the other you cannot. You have to copy it. Let's get the big elephant out of the room. If you're colorblind or deficient like I am, this challenge is borderline impossible. I'm lucky enough to not be completely colorblind or I would never have beaten this in my entire life. But not only that, but the grid each time has a missing square, as I'm sure you've noticed, but I'm also sure you've noticed that missing square on your side and the missing square on the side you're supposed to copy are in different locations. That's because they rotated the fucking grid. Talk about a headache, am I right? Maybe I'm just brain dead when it comes to this, but trying to comprehend where each color should go when it's rotated was just not a fun experience at all. I'm not even going to lie to you. But once you finally finish fusing all of baby's pieces back together, a voice will come over the speakers telling you that all of the animatronics have been deactivated, and that you should exit through the hall on your right. When you do, you'll be led to the sister location elevator. Getting inside, it will slowly descend and then stop. You'll hear something laughing at you for a while, and then the elevator will suddenly drop and you die. The end. Game over. Okay, not really. That's just the transition to the next room. Are you ready? Because I sure as fuck aren't. Why did we agree to come to this place? It makes no sense. How does this place even exist? I could have died a solid 276 times at this point, and we're not even done yet. Someone needs to get this place investigated by the FBI because this is some bullshit. What a waste of a Saturday, am I right? Anyways, let's move on. After laying on the floor for approximately 8 days, we finally wake up from the fallen elevator. We walk past a large window and see the characters we just went up against. After the events of the last room, these little tiny robot things apparently grabbed all of the characters to bring them to the scooping room. And this room is presumably that. While we look across the floor of once familiar corpses, the bane of my existence and the shit in my diaper emerges from the tangled mess of wires. Ennard. This guy is the single reason why it took me so long to make this video, why it took me a month to beat this game. For most, it certainly wouldn't have taken this long, but for me, oh my lord, this next room will give me flashbacks like Charlie in the Trees for the next 5 decades, and possibly until I reach my grave. Remember the second room? How I mentioned I don't handle being chased very well? This room made me question if I would be able to continue making videos on this channel, or if I would have to jump ships to another genre to make review videos about. I'm not kidding, not even a little bit. I originally intended to beat this game on stream on Dexter Black, and you can still see my first stream about this game where I gave up on room 2. Well, for the people who tuned into that stream, know now I didn't give up. But you should also be grateful that I didn't stream this entire process because I spent tens of hours trying to beat this next room alone. Let me explain why. Room 5 is the epitome of everything I hate in a horror game. Literally all the way down to the last detail. I'll give you a warning right now. This is 100% a me problem and is totally my subjective opinion. So, the only threat in this room is Ennard. Thankfully, there aren't any more, but dear lord, Ennard is all it needs. In terms of where we are story-wise, the elevator crashing was definitely not intended to happen, as upon beginning this room, we don't get a monitor telling us what our goals are. This is cool as a passing thought, but it's not really cool when you stop to think that there is absolutely nothing to explain what it is I need to do to complete the challenge. Upon beginning, we're given a wind to power flashlight and some writing on the wall telling us to light up a solar panel using the flashlight. Now, I'm already going to pause real quick. We're being shown a new mechanic, the wind up flashlight and solar panel. Cool. Now tell me, do you suspect we need to light up solar panels ever again in this entire challenge? Or the entire game? I'm assuming you said yes, but you'd be completely wrong. No, there's not a single other solar panel in this entire game. So please, tell me, why the fuck were we shown this? Showing us the flashlight makes sense, but there were countless other ways to do it in a much better way than showing us another mechanic that is never used again. This is exactly like the gun in Moozy. But continuing, once we light the solar panel, a large door opens and the challenge truly begins. The overall goal of this challenge is probably the easiest we've seen so far. It's broken up into 5 distinct tasks. Step 1, find a crowbar. Step 2, use the crowbar to force open a drawer near Kyle's desk to get a keycard. Step 3, use Kyle's keycard to open a door, allowing you to turn a generator on that powers computer monitors throughout the room. Step 4, find all 3 computers and input 3 colored fuses into each. The fuses are conveniently placed in boxes right next to the computers, so I appreciate that. And step 5, go back to the generator and turn on the central power, which opens the door, allowing you to climb a ladder and beat the challenge. Sounds simple, right? Well, yes. It is simple, but now I need to talk about the problem. Ennard. Ennard will be patrolling the giant maze of a room the entire time you are performing these tasks. If he sees you, he will begin to chase you. If you get caught, you will lose all progress you've made throughout the challenge. Let me tell you another fact. Unlike every room in this game so far, this room ain't small. No, this room is very fucking large. I hate everything about life. Let me complain about some more stuff. If you are near Ennard, he will hear you and be alerted to you if you do the following. Wind up the flashlight. Makes sense. It's really loud. I can understand that one. If you run. Okay, yeah. I've seen that in other games before. Running is louder than walking is, and walking. That's right. If you move, period, while he is anywhere remotely close to you, he will hear you and start to chase you. What the fuck? And once he starts chasing you, there's only 2 ways to get him to stop. The devs must have been smoking crack and playing Dead by Daylight while they were designing this section, because one of the methods used to escape an Ennard chase is by knocking over wood pallets placed around the room. Quickly break the pallets and continue to chase you if you don't hop bottom out of there at light speed. What's the second way of escaping a chase? I hear you asking? Well, it's by stunning Ennard. How do you stun Ennard? I hear you asking again. That's a great question. I have no fucking idea. I'm not joking. I literally have no fucking clue on earth. How? On God's green fuck, you're supposed to stun Ennard. How do I know you can stun him? Well, every time you die, which, judging by the fact it took me borderline a month to beat this challenge, I did quite frequently. You will get a tip on the loading screen. One of these tips tells you that stunning Ennard will give you more time to run away than knocking over a pallet will. So I know you can, but the game doesn't elaborate on how to do that as far as I'm aware. So to this day, I still have no idea how to stun Ennard. I don't know what the hell the game is talking about. I'm stumped. But I'm not even close to done talking about this section of the game. No. I spent a fucking month on this. I can dedicate a few pages of my script to it. You can sit down and listen. I don't care if this video ends up being an hour long. You see, there is a very large, steaming hot, glaring issue with this challenge in specific. Since it's technically not a part of the canonical attraction, there's no tip screen at the beginning. But with no tip screen, there's no telling anyone fuck about fuck. So, As I said, there are 3 computers around the level. Each computer has a box of fuses with differently colored patterns on them right next to them. Each computer requires 3 different fuses. How do you figure out which fuses go where? Well, at first I looked at the colors of the wires going into the computer. I thought, maybe this will give me a hint as to what I'm supposed to do. So I tried to grab the fuses out of the box, but I couldn't. So then I thought, oh, maybe these aren't the fuses, and the actual fuses are randomly placed around the map. So I went to look. I looked, and I looked, and I looked, but I never found any fuses. Eventually, I died for probably the 48,000th time to see a tip appear on my screen. You won't be able to pick up fuses until you turn on the monitors. You didn't think to tell me that? You didn't think that was important information to give out earlier? This is why we need the fucking tip screen, asshole. But fuck me, whatever, sure. So then I started trying to figure out how to turn the monitors on. I tried seeing if I could press the buttons on the monitors, but that didn't work, so then I decided to try and find something else to do. Eventually, I found a note next to a door mentioning that Kyle leaves a keycard in his desk to open said door. Okay, cool. Something to do has just fallen into my lap. Let's go find Kyle's desk. Luckily for me, desks are in the same location every time you play, so we don't have to worry about those being randomized. After looking for a very long time, because again, I don't handle being chased well at all, it's like I fucking lock up and start freezing. I don't know what's wrong with me, I just can't handle it. So, most of the gameplay boiled down to me moving incredibly slowly and taking way more time than I ever needed to complete this challenge. But that's how I personally had to do this if I wanted to play it myself, which is also why the footage you're watching right now isn't mine. Thank you, Kono and Indie Fuel. I eventually find Kyle's desk to then find another note from Kyle mentioning that you need a crowbar to be able to open his drawer with the keycard in it. Fuck me. So, after searching for another 100 years, I find the crowbar on a desk and use it to open the drawer to get the keycard. 400 hours and 2,000 deaths later, I use the keycard to open the door and find the generator inside. Flip the switch and boom, the computers are now on. Now, 5,000 deaths later, I finally get to the point where I can pick up the fuses and match the correct fuses to the ones shown on the screen. After 25,000 deaths, I managed to correctly match the fuses of all 3 computers. Keep in mind, every time I die, I have to completely restart this entire process, all the way back to shining the flashlight at the solar panel. I'm on the verge of death. So finally, I make it back to the generator to turn it on and finish this godforsaken challenge. And I do, expecting the door next to it to open. It doesn't. Come in real close for me. Come in real close. This fucking door needs a separate key that spawns randomly in the level. I'm going to clench my teeth together so hard that they shatter into a fine powder. This right here is what took me the longest. So finally, after 100,000 deaths, I finally get the key to the generator to unlock the door. Come on real close again for me, real close, one more time. Take a guess what's in this room. Is it the exit to let me move on to the next challenge? No, it's just fucking lore. I didn't know this while I was playing. I don't watch videos about the games I play, so I had no idea what was behind this fucking door. I know that's 100% my fault, but dear God, when I tell you how fucking pissed I was when I finally figured out this after hours upon hours of attempts, I was fucking livid. I wish I was recording my attempts so I could show you my reaction. You wanna know what happened after a reasonable crash out in this room? Ennard fucking walked in and killed me, making me start from the beginning again. Once again, I wasn't recording. However, this exact same thing happened to Markiplier, so I'll show you footage of this happening to him instead.
Good! I was about to say, if that guy could have come in here, I would have been so mad. How could you ever get me in here?
The amount of vulgarities that emerged from my lungs at a speed of Mach 50 in that moment was astronomical. Enough to shake trees and shatter the sound barrier. I was fucking livid. But again, I know full well that this entire section, this entire 4 pages of my script is an experience that only I have had. Nobody else on Earth struggled with this challenge as much as I did. Nobody in history has ever spent a calendar month pouring attempts into this section of a game that should only take 20 minutes to complete. I know it's a skill issue, and a very hard skill issue at that, but I could not under any circumstance, neglect to mention how bullshit of an experience I had. I hope you enjoyed this segment. I eventually found the door to the generator, opened it, and climbed up the ladder into the next challenge of this godforsaken fuck-ass game. From one anxiety attack to another, let's talk about room 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and that's how many threats we have to talk about in this level. Awesome segue, Dexter. Thanks, Dexter. The first threat we'll talk about is Molten Freddy. Molten Freddy can appear in one of 2 vents occasionally. When you hear or see him in one, you'll have to break your mouse and spam click a lever in the vent to blind him with the light more powerful than the sun. Every time you flash him, he gets slightly pushed back, which leads to you spending an infuriating amount of time spamming the fucking lever to make him go away. The next threat is Scrap Baby. As I'm sure you've noticed, we're locked inside a fenced area. On the outside of the fence is a forest, and occasionally you'll be able to see Baby limping her way out from between the trees towards your fence. When she gets to the fence, she'll hop that shit like an Olympic athlete and fuck your shit up. To stop her, you must go to this random screen in the wall and activate the repel system, which plays the most ear-piercing sound I've ever heard in my entire life. So I totally understand why that makes Baby go away. The final threat is SPRINGTRAP, who in my opinion is the stupidest looking FNAF character ever designed. You can see SPRINGTRAP sitting on a chair down a long hallway. You must watch him closely as he will slowly start to move until his head is eventually in an upright position. When it is, you must use the same screen you used for Baby, but instead close the door and use the call system to lure him to you. After waiting what will feel like an eternity, you will be able to hear him stand up from the chair and sprint like Usain Bolt towards the door, and pound on it like he's on speed. Then he will go back to the chair and you can open the door and turn off the call system. By the way, the call system is also the worst sound I've ever heard in my whole life. Thank you for asking. That may not sound all bad, but having to deal with all 3 of these fuckers and do the other bullshit we have to do, I promise it will become difficult to manage. So what is it we have to do? Well, the goal is to remove the chains from a fence gate so that we can open it. Simple enough. To start, you'll notice another screen different from the one used to defend yourself. On it, you'll find the opening minigame from Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator. You will need to complete 4 levels of this game, which in and of itself isn't a hard challenge, but when the music is pretty loud, listening for the other characters can be a problem, especially when SPRINGTRAP doesn't make any noise until it's already too late. After beating this game, you will unlock a prize that we can't access at this moment, so we'll get back to it in a second. Afterwards, you'll need to look around your surroundings to find 2 pieces of paper with a number ranging from 1 to 3 on them, accompanied by a silhouette of a FNAF character. You can use these pieces of paper to input a code into this little toy thing. I don't know what this thing is if I'm being honest. You only need 2 pieces of the code because you can just brute force the last one. After getting the code correct, a key will emerge. Take that key and run down the hall and unlock a door to the right of SPRINGTRAP. This is personally where I think this level gets specifically hard, since we'll be spending most of our time in here now, meaning we won't be able to hear SPRINGTRAP and Molten Freddy. So if you forget to check on them, it's basically GG's. Inside this new room, we can finally obtain the prize we got from beating the Pizzeria Simulator minigame, a Faz coin. You'll notice a projector that's projecting a cut-up piece of paper on the wall. If you pull a lever on the same wall, this tiny little Freddy I can't remember the name of will try to read the projection. But he obviously won't be able to do so because it's only a small piece of a paper, you fucking idiot. Using the Faz coin, you can go back into SPRINGTRAP's room and insert it into Rockstar Freddy's stomach, and then press 3 buttons on his body in an order listed on a piece of paper. This makes sense, by the way. This will cause his mouth to open, revealing the other pieces of paper you need. Slap those bitches on the projector and put them together like a puzzle, which, side note, is a pain in the ass for no reason. The controls are super janky. Slap the lever with your big Coke can penis, and have bitch Freddy read it. When he does, a door next to Rockstar Freddy will open with some bolt cutters inside. You can use these bolt cutters to cut the chains off of the fence and escape this level. This level might not seem as difficult as some of the other ones have, and while none of these levels are particularly difficult in terms of what you literally have to do, all of the levels, and this one specifically, build up so much stress and really test your nerve control. After jumping down some weird looking cellar door, we enter a new room with a computer in it. It shows an error that it detected human movement. Obviously, we just entered the room, of course. While reading through the files on the computer that detail a plan to revive someone through our corpse, another human detection error shows up on screen. Knowing that we haven't moved, we turn around and get our shit smacked up by Vanny and get knocked out. Fun fact, you can actually spot Vanny spying on you in almost every other level in the game if you're looking closely enough. Just something cool I thought I'd bring up. We wake up to Vanny dragging us into an unknown room, and rather than me explaining what happens next, I'd rather just show you. Afterwards, we walk through what appears to be memories of the Bite of 87 events, and the game comes to a close. So, from a lore perspective, we were lured to this attraction by Vanny. You may remember at the beginning of the game we got a text from a friend telling us how cool this attraction is, and in the secret lore room, which turns out to be Vanny's secret room, she has a whiteboard full of steps on how to use remnants. One of the steps involves sending a message to someone, seemingly to lure them in, and what do you know, we got a message to come here. Also in that secret room is a tape that can be watched going over how to extract remnant from people. So what the goal seemingly was, using my enormous brain of theorization, the plan was to lure us to the attraction, extract remnant from us in order to give power to William Afton, which is what we are seeing happen in the final cutscene. Case closed. I'm a genius. But as far as I'm aware, that's all the glitched attraction has to offer. Although this game put me through 4 brain aneurysms and a heart attack, I still think it is one of the most impressive FNAF fan games ever made. The amount of detail, skill, and effort put into this is only matched by the other kings of FNAF games, and that cannot go overlooked. I highly suggest you give this game a try, even if you think it's too hard. I don't think you'll regret it. I just really hope they add in a feature to get rid of the nauseating head bobbing because holy shit, I almost threw up multiple times playing this. In the last video, I asked you all what was the funniest experience you've ever had playing a FNAF game. And my favorite comment was this one by Saf the Dark Angel. Needless to say, we love irony here on the dxtrwhite channel. We're all too familiar with it. The question of this video is, which level of the glitched attraction is your favorite and why? With the question of the video being asked, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. See ya!